USC just became more expensive yet again. We talked to students in the undergraduate student government president-elect about the tuition hike.
And we take a look at what last night's leading actress winner meant by inclusion writer.
Then, one local man is taking his activism to extreme lengths. We see how he's been protesting LA's homelessness crisis.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
As long as the university continues to get money, they kind of don't care. People will gripe about the tuition hike, but they'll still keep coming. They'll still be paying that tuition, including the extra.
Today, USC announced that it's raising tuition by nearly $2,000 a year. Good evening, I'm Addie Stafford.
And I'm Lauren Floyd. USC's tuition has risen incrementally over the past few years. Tuition will increase to more than $55,000 for the 2018-19 school year. That's a 3.5% increase over the year's tuition of close to $53,500. As you can see, tuition has consistently been increasing about 4% over the past 3 years. We asked students for their reaction to the latest increase.
First, I just have to wonder why there's another hike. Last time there was a hike in tuition, I know a lot of people protested saying they wanted transparency. They wanted to see where the money was going, and that never got resolved.
Honestly, for me, it has been pretty good. Thankfully, I have been able to attend my dream school, USC, thanks to financial aid. But I know many other people that they don't get as much as it will be necessary for them to be able to study here.
I want to see some benefits. I want to see if it increases, help me out. Give us better printers, give us more amenities, give us something.
One high school counselor says a tuition increase is not going to change the school's popularity with applicants.
I don't think it's going to stop kids from applying to USC. I think the decision will come down once the student receives multiple offers, and I think families are going to have to compare offers and see which makes more sense. I think USC is one of those schools that families will do whatever they have to do.
We spoke with USG President-elect Debbie Lee about the increase. She says that putting a stop to the tuition hike isn't very likely.
Asking for a tuition freeze is a bit difficult, especially considering the economic conditions outside of our university that affect the tuition increase and everything. But I think as students, it makes us want to fight harder for accountability from our administration and also transparency as to where our money's going.
Now, we just heard from the university provost who says this year's 3.5% tuition increase is USC's lowest single-year increase since the 1969-70 academic year. And it shows the university's ongoing efforts to reduce year-over-year increases. He also said USC's financial aid pool is the largest in the country.
Frances McDormand used her acceptance speech for Best Actress to bring awareness to the lack of diversity in Hollywood. Annenberg Media's Katya Jordan spoke to film students and a professor about the so-called inclusion rider that McDormand talked about.
Last night at the Oscars, Best Actress winner Frances McDormand made a call for diversity in Hollywood. She emphasized two very important words: inclusion rider, a term unfamiliar to some.
Because we all have stories to tell and projects we need finance. I have two words to leave with you tonight, ladies and gentlemen: inclusion rider.
An inclusion rider is a clause in contracts. USC professor Stacy Smith is one of the concept creators. She's researched underrepresentation of women and minorities in film.
We see an invisible quota at work that favors straight, white, able-bodied male. And there are very talented actors that are simply not getting the opportunity because of their identity. And that's not inclusive, and that's not fair.
Professor Smith says that females only cover up to 1/3 of on-speaking characters in the film industry, and this number hasn't changed within the last half century. USC film students say that diversity is definitely needed in the film industry.
It's all moving things forward, and at least the conversation's starting, but at the same time the conversation's only just starting. So as a society and as a community, we still have a lot of work to do.
Women and people of color definitely need to have a seat at the table.
I think the world is starting to change.
by all this movement, like this recent year, and all the people coming out and really like have their voice being heard. So I think it's slowly going to change.
This year, costume design was the only category that had more women than men. But even then, the Oscar went to a man. For Annenberg Media, I'm Katia Jordan.
The Florida Senate passed a bill today that would raise the minimum age to buy rifles to 21 and create a waiting period on sales. This comes more than 2 weeks after the high school shooting in Parkland killed 17 people. This bill would also allow some teachers, such as librarians and coaches, to carry guns in school. The bill now goes to the Florida House, which is considering a similar bill.
Cypress College canceled morning classes today after a former student was identified as a possible threat. The 24-year-old is in custody after allegedly telling his parents through text and email that he wanted to shoot up a school. His parents notified school officials, who sent staff and students an email instructing them to stay home. Police found no weapons in the student's home, but said his mental health is being evaluated. Classes resumed at Cypress at noon.
In the wake of school shootings and threats, LA City Attorney Mike Feuer today announced the formation of a blue ribbon panel aimed at improving school safety. Feurer's school safety panel will hold hearings across Los Angeles to address key safety issues. These issues include the safe storage of firearms, improved reporting systems for suspicious individuals, heightened campus security, increased mental health resources, and improved safety for commuting students. 13 people have already joined the panel, including USC's Vice President of Civic Engagement, Earl Paysinger.
Students protested today at UCLA after Secretary of the Treasury Steven Mnuchin's visit to campus last week. UCLA student Tala Deloria was detained after she criticized Mnuchin's during his on-campus event.
So Mnuchin was coming to speak at UCLA. He was invited by the business school, and he was largely behind the tax bill. And so this is a bill that's going to prevent millions of children from having health care. It's going to take away food stamps and all kinds of social security benefits and other social safety benefits. And it's criminal. They're punishing people for the very position that this system has put them in.
Deloria was one of 3 people arrested by campus police officers at the event last week. There were at least 400 people at the event, and the audience can be heard hissing and criticizing the secretary on a full audio recording that was published. According to the Wall Street Journal, Mnuchin asked UCLA not to publish any video of the event.
Russia and Italy are both making political news today.
Our political correspondent Kaylee Wells has the latest. Kaylee?
Thanks, Lauren and Addie. Questions of Russian meddling continue to make headlines with Robert Mueller's investigation. Today, President Trump's former campaign aide resisted Mueller's subpoena for communications between him and Trump. But on USC's campus, a director at Annenberg's other school in Pennsylvania took a look back at Russia's role in the presidential campaign.
We had media platforms ripe for exploitation. We had a press structure uniquely susceptible to framing because the underlying structure of media coverage in this country is toward appearance versus reality.
Jamieson said the tampering focused on negative coverage of Hillary Clinton to persuade young liberal voters, to choose Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein, dividing the Democratic base.
When a message appears and you don't know the source, but the picture looks like a nice, friendly person, ask yourself, if you pinged back and tried to talk to the person, would they be speaking Russian?
She says 2016 serves as a lesson to stay alert and skeptical about where our news comes from in the 2018 and 2020 elections. Unofficial results are in after Italy took to the polls yesterday, and they're following a global trend. Luigi Di Maio from the populist Five Star Movement won the night with just under a third of the votes. His 2 centrist opponents secured less than 20% each. No parties won the 40% necessary to garner a majority, so that divide means Italy has what's called a hung parliament. Di Maio's populist victory, just like President Trump's in the U.S., marks another country's call for a dramatic economic overhaul and a move away from more liberal ideals. That's what's happening here at home and in Italy. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Kaylee. A local man has chosen to give up food to bring attention to the city's growing homeless problem. Alexandria Mason reports from Skid Row, where the hunger strike is entering its 3rd week.
It's been 19 days since Caleb Havens has eaten solid food, and he plans on going until Easter.
Giving up food and shelter seemed like a good way to stand in solidarity and compassion with the community that we serve.
Havens is a member of the LA Catholic worker community that works to help those in need. He's on a hunger strike to call attention to LA's homeless crisis. The LA Homeless Services Authority says as many as 58,000 people are homeless in LA County. Havens says it's more difficult than you can imagine.
Between the rats and the elements, the weather, and the not always having access to food, so it's pretty dire.
LA has over a dozen quality of life laws that restricts residents from sleeping in their cars or on the street. This has resulted in an increase in homeless arrests. About 1 in 6 arrests in LA are of homeless people.
Haven says he's not afraid to be arrested.
These arrests is for a number of reasons. It's not because they're sleeping on the street. The arrest comes because of crimes. A lot of times, once we engage them, then we find out that they have warrants.
Community members are showing their support for Haven by cleaning the street where he's protesting.
We make sure he has water. We make sure we get his trash out of the way for him, that he has blankets.
Haven hopes his hunger strike will inspire city leaders to take action to help the homeless get off the streets. For Annenberg Media, I'm Alexandria Mason.
Coming up, we'll see what DACA advocates are doing as they demand congressional action.
Then, one USC student was in Mammoth during an avalanche. We hear about his experience.
And a local hospital brings fresh food to the LA area.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
A new farmers market is up and running for the Boyle Heights neighborhood. Annenberg Media's Madeline Audley is in the newsroom with more on how this will affect the community.
Thanks, Addie. The new market is designed to increase access to healthy foods and to educate shoppers about why they're so important.
When you drive through Boyle Heights, you're likely to see a lot of fast food. But now, tucked behind the walls of LA County USC Hospital is a new healthy food oasis.
$1.50 each.
There's access to the food here, and also we have the nutritionist here. The market will be held each Monday. It's designed to improve access to healthy foods for both patients and the local community.
It's an opportunity for me to take the education that I'm getting from the doctors here and putting it into real life.
Most of what's sold here is grown or made nearby.
My husband and I live in Boyle Heights. We love Boyle Heights. Our eyes are open to some gaps that are here in terms of healthy food.
And markets like these promise a whole lot more than just fruits and veggies. Things like locally made pita and hummus, and even homemade soaps, making the market a one-stop shop for all sorts of local products. Department of Pediatrics Administrator Sandy Correa is the brains behind the operation.
I was raised in Boyle Heights down the street on First and Soto. I know firsthand the lack of quality produce offered at local grocery stores.
There are fewer grocery stores too. A Policy Link study showed that West LA had more than twice as many supermarkets per household than areas with high poverty, such as South LA. Correa believes this market is a key step in helping communities offer more affordable, healthy options.
The food deserts are going to start going away eventually, but it takes things like this to actually happen. You know, we can talk about it all the time, but unless we actually start working towards it, then we're going to see a difference.
Another common misconception about farmers markets is that the prices are higher than in the grocery store, but that's not always the case. A study conducted by the Project for Public Spaces at 8 farmers markets found that 60% of shoppers in low-income areas found better prices at their market than grocery store. Another done by the Northeast Organic Farming Association of Vermont tested 10 markets and 10 groceries. Organic products were nearly 40% cheaper at the market, but non-organic products were more of a toss-up, sometimes cheaper at the store and sometimes at the market. Either way, the farmers market brings more healthy options to a neighborhood that welcomes them. Back to you, Addie and Lauren.
Thanks, Madeline. Well, I don't know about you, Lauren, but I am sick of this cold weather.
I know, and then it's paired with the sun, and then it's you never know. It's unexpectable in LA. Let's head over to Anissa and see what to expect this week.
Thanks, Lauren and Addie. So after a long week of cold and rainy weather, we are starting to get back our warm, a little bit of sun, LA weather. Now today it was 70 degrees, but now it's 64 degrees with 26% humidity. Now for tomorrow, we'll see that in the Inland Empire, Palm Springs will be 78 degrees, San Bernardino 77, and Riverside a warm 79 degrees. In the Valley, Simi Valley will be 77 degrees, Thousand Oaks 77, and Malibu 68 degrees. Now if we come right here to USC, we'll see that USC is a nice 78 degrees, Glendale 78 as well, and LAX 72 degrees. Now for your 5-day forecast. Tuesday will be a warm 78 degrees with low 52. We'll stay in the 70s but get a little cooler as we get towards the weekend. Now on Saturday it'll be 67 degrees and 53 degrees. But be sure to set your alarm clocks an hour ahead because we will be heading into daylight savings time Saturday night into Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Now over the weekend, skiers turned into rescuers as avalanches hit 2 ski resorts in the Sierra Nevadas. An avalanche at Squaw Valley Ski Resort on Friday afternoon trapped 5 people. 3 had minor injuries and 2 were hospitalized. A snowboarder reported missing the night before was found dead under 4 feet of snow after the avalanche occurred. A second avalanche hit Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort the next morning. A member of the USC ski and snowboarding team was on the slopes when it happened.
Me and a couple of my friends on the ski team all were kind of coming down right to where the bottom of it was, so you could see all the debris and a bunch of trees and rocks that had gotten blown down by it. It was sort of crazy because there was so much wind and so much snow coming down that it all muffled like the sound of it, because usually an avalanche that size would be super loud. But it wasn't that scary just because a lot of people on the mountain didn't know that it happened.
Both resorts closed for the rest of the day when the avalanches happened, but reopened to crowds of skiers ready to get on the fresh snow the next morning.
I'm just glad that those USC students were not hurt. That's great to hear.
Pretty scary stuff. Thanks, Anissa. Today marks what was supposed to be the official end of the DACA program. In September, President Trump announced the end of protection for nearly 700,000 undocumented immigrants. Court orders are delaying this deadline, but activists are demanding congressional action.
Today means basically, it's going to be a space for me to share my voice, my frustration with Congress and the president, and also to remind him, right, that he said that if Congress failed to protect dreamers, that he was going to do something for them. So, it's a time to keep him accountable for that.
The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights made posters today for a protest in front of City Hall. Activists want Congress to make a definitive immigration policy. DACA recipients can continue to renew their permits, but their future remains uncertain. Now, you know what, guys? I've been really missing some Trojan football.
And I've been missing Sam Darnold. Mary Page, any news about him?
Well, you're in luck, ladies. I've got the latest on how our Trojans did this past weekend at the NFL Combine. And Sarah McGrew is going to tell you what's next for men's basketball after that devastating senior night loss. And finally, is there anything Kobe Bryant can't do? Well, we'll fill you in on his most golden accomplishment coming up next.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to SaveTheFood.com.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. I'm Mary Paige Nussfetter, and if you were wondering about all those men in spandex on your newsfeed this past weekend, it's not a new fashion trend. It's the NFL Combine. The Trojans had 6 players showing their stuff at the annual NFL Showcase, including star quarterback Sam Darnold. He ran an impressive 4.85 40-yard dash, which ranked him 9th out of the 17 participating quarterbacks. Darnold's teammates also put on a show for the NFL recruiters. Running back Ronald Jones II managed to pull off a 4.66 40-yard dash despite suffering from a hamstring injury. Wide receiver Steven Mitchell Jr. dominated in the 3-cone drill, ranking 6th out of 26 participants. Lineman Rasheem Green and linebacker Uchenna Nwosu represented the Cardinal in gold on Sunday. Green ranked in the top 10 in 3 of his workouts, running a 4.73 40-yard dash, good enough to be 4th best among all defensive linemen. Nwosu had scouts buzzing about his potential after a breakout senior season. He ran a 4.65 40 and put up 20 reps on the bench press. And if all this talk of Trojan football has you missing your weekends at the Coliseum, you're in luck. The good news is the wait is finally over for spring ball, which starts tomorrow, and the 2018 spring roster was officially announced today. Some names absent from the list include offensive lineman Roy Hemsley, who is transferring to Arizona State, center Cole Smith, who is retiring because of a patellar dislocation, and wide receiver Joseph Lewis IV, who was arrested last month on suspicion of domestic violence. USC is also welcoming back running backs coach Tim Drevno, who spent the last 3 seasons at Michigan. You can catch Drevno and the rest of the remaining roster at all 15 spring practices, which are free and open to the public. But now I think our reporter Sarah McGrew has an update on some Trojans not in spandex. What's going on with men's basketball, Sarah?
That's right, Mary Paige. No spandex here, just March Madness, or March Sadness for the Trojans who fell to crosstown rival UCLA 82-73 on Saturday night. But despite a tough weekend, USC's Jordan McLaughlin and Chemezi Metu were named to the Pac-12 Conference First Team. On Saturday, the Trojans honored their 3 seniors before tip-off, but the celebration was cut short as the Bruins came from behind to sweep the Trojans. USC struggled from beyond the arc, shooting just 26%. After the game, Coach Infield talked about the Bruins' unstoppable duo in Chris Wilkes and Aaron Holiday.
UCLA played extremely well, and we have to give them credit. We tried our best to slow down Holiday and Wilkes, and we're not able to do that.
This week, the Trojans head to the Pac-12 tournament. They'll take on the winner of the Oregon State-Washington game on Thursday night. I'm expecting USC will be matched up with Oregon in the semifinals. It'll be hard to beat the Ducks a 3rd time, but the Trojans are capable of pulling it off, which means they would meet up with Arizona in the championship game. But ultimately, I think Arizona is likely to win the championship for the 2nd time in a row. And let's not forget about women's basketball. USC was eliminated in the quarterfinals of the Pac-12 tournament, but with 20 wins on the season, they still have a chance to get into the NCAA tournament. They'll find out if they make it in this weekend on Selection Sunday. Mary Paige, back to you.
Thanks for that update, Sarah. Now, Kobe Bryant may be retired from basketball, but his film career is just getting started. Last night, the former Los Angeles Laker took home an Oscar for his animated short film, Dear Basketball. Bryant teamed up with Oscar winners John Williams and Glenn Keane to bring his 2015 farewell letter to life. He originally wrote the story for the Players Tribune to announce his retirement from the game. Fellow basketball greats took to Twitter to share their congratulations. That was the first Oscar nomination for the 5-time NBA champion, and the public was quick to point out that Bryant now has the same number of Oscar trophies as Leonardo DiCaprio.
Next thing we're going to see is Kobe Toby in a movie. He's going to be starring, man. He's going to be an actor next, I swear.
I'd watch that.
I think it's coming
any day.
Well, thank you so much, Mary Page. Last night, an Oscar winner's trophy was snatched from her.
And one USC student was there for the award screening prank. We hear from her next.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Best Actress winner Frances McDormand's Oscar night took a turn for the worse after her Oscar was stolen at an after party in Hollywood. The suspect recorded himself with the award before he was arrested.
My team got this tonight. This is mine. We got it tonight, baby. Come on. Come on. Governor's ball, baby.
The Three Billboards actress was photographed getting her Oscar engraved before it went missing from her table. The thief was stopped by an event photographer and the Oscar was returned to McDormand.
And a USC sophomore can't stop smiling after meeting some of Hollywood's A-list actors last night. Evelyn Luyo was at a movie screening at the TCL Chinese Theater when Oscar host Jimmy Kimmel suddenly showed up. Kimmel pranked the moviegoers by recruiting A-list actors from the Oscars to crash the screening and pass out hot dogs and candy.
If you go watch the video, you can see me doing this the whole time, so I'm like really shy and covering my face. Normally I don't like red wines, but because it's from Margot Robbie, I think I'm going to like save it and keep it and like in a, I don't know, save in the bank or something.
So with Best Actress nominee Margot Robbie's red vines as a souvenir, Luyo says she will never forget one of the best nights of her life.
I love that. That's just awesome. And meeting Margot Robbie, I mean, that's a dream come true.
I know, right? I mean,
my favorite was Armie Hammer's hot dog cannon, personally.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. They had so many fun toys to play with. It was crazy.
I would love to switch places with her and have been there last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Well, thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Addie Stafford.
And I'm Lauren Floyd. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.
Crazy.